It's like
that. The Purple Rain movie?
No, you know, with the montage.
That movie. That's one big music video.
That's what I mean. But music videos were montages. It's like, and so it's like, that's what Rocky IV is the closest thing artistically
it's just a
to
bunch of music videos?
It's a music video that is set to story instead of, you know.
Set to music video that's set to story.
A lot of the times I come up with like an idea. Most of the time I drive a lot for work, you know, between the social work stuff and doing the mold inspections and whatever. I'm always in the stupid car and I have my phone and I'll think of something dumb because I'm listening to podcasts, listening to music, just trying to keep my mind occupied. You know, you come up with, you just think about something that you're like, this is ridiculous. Why, you know, what is so, and a lot of times, like, as you know, a lot of my jokes are about like tragic things. They're touring.
Pearl Jam's still around, and there's a lot of Pearl Jam fans are very diehards.
Yes.
Like they have a very...
I'm not one of them. I mean, I like a few of their songs, but I'm not like, oh,
I've never been a huge Pearl Jam guy.
Yeah.
But like, I never have been like, fuck Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
I just don't...
No, they have some good songs.
I never got into it. But I've kind of been the same way about Nirvana. Like, I don't hate Nirvana, but I never got deep into Nirvana. Like, I know Nirvana songs, and I've listened to, but I just never was like, this changes my life in every way.
Right.
You know, I listen to that when I listen to Weird Al. Well, hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Millennial Stoner. I'm Joe Winchell. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Quick reminder, and I say this at the beginning of every show, if you want to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to go into rockgut.shop. Go to rockgut.shop. You can pick up some merch. We got hats, we got shirts, and all of those shirts are done by Chris. So you get to support the show and you get to support Chris's art. So, you know, it also helps us with our algorithm. So if you can do that, that would be great. And if you don't want to buy anything, just like hit the like button and share the videos and everything. Just real quick too, we're going to do my venue dates. From the end of July to the end of August, I'm going to be at Sticks and Stones Comedy Club, hosting, featuring. I'm on every show there. I'm very busy. If you would like to come out to Southampton and come check the show out, please go to sticksandstonescomedyclub.com. Buy tickets. Rob White's going to be down there. We've got some great acts too. Sherrod Small is coming down. The Sklar brothers are going to be there. Carmen Lynch is, I almost say Carmen Electra. Carmen Lynch is going to come back. She was there last year and she's hilarious and a wonderful human being. Andy Pitts is going to be down there. A bunch of great acts. Steve Rocco Perillo, our own Long Island Steve Rocco Perillo will be down there on some of the shows. So please come on down and have a good time, laugh, and enjoy a show. All right? Okay, guys, I think that was good. I'm doing better at this, right, Chris?
Yes, you are.
Thank you.
Nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, my guest is Greg Pfeiffer.
Yep, Greg Pfeiffer.
What's up, man? How you doing?
What's going on?
Nothing. I'm happy to have you on the show. I always try to do a little, because you're new, so I always do a little history. I remember when you first came down to the mic, and I just saw this, you know, like you look like an early sketch of a Ninja Turtle. And I was like, who is this guy? And then you would go up there. You just have these lists of these rants that you go up there. And I'm like, what the fuck? And it just kept coming around. And I think you're a funny guy. And you've lately done some songs, which we'll get into later. And I was just happy to have you on the show. But I wanted to ask a little bit about you so, you know, the people can know about you and who you are. Number one, why did you decide to start doing comedy?
I've always wanted to. Like, I wanted to do it when I was a kid. And I remember I wrote, because I watched Eddie Murphy Raw and, you know, and Delirious.
Yeah.
And my mom was a big comedy fan. So we would watch Evening at the Improv. And I remember watching Norm Macdonald when he first came on. And just like at my house, there was always comedy on. So I was, I'll try to do this. So I wrote some comedy stuff. And I remember I was, 12 maybe. And I showed it to my mom. And she basically told me it sucked. And I cried like a bitch. And I was like, okay, comedy's out. So I never did comedy. And then, I don't know, like 10 years ago, I saw some post, Facebook reminded me. It said some post like, maybe you should try doing open mic, whatever. And I never did it. And then, 2 years ago, I became friends with Andy. Andy said, come down to the open mic.
Pladanos,
yeah.
the show.
Andy said, come down to the open mic. And I was like, yeah, all right.
That's right. You guys like pick your kids up at the same bus stop.
Yeah, same school. So, yeah.
Yeah, all right. So that's how, it's always,
there you go.
That's usually how it works. There's always like somebody adjacent that I know this person should come. You should come down to the mic.
Yeah.
And that's just basically how it started. And you're like, yeah, I'll give it another crack at this.
Right. And once I showed up,
I'll show my fucking mother.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, she didn't know what she's talking about. Finally, comes to the realization. And
what's your regular job?
I work for the county.
Oh, like
so I have a government job, county job.
Social worker?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And then I have a business on the side where I do mold inspections.
Prostitution?
Yeah.
That's good for you, dude.
So
you've got a side gig, a regular job, and a hobby.
Right.
And you also, you know a lot about music.
Yeah. I started out studying music seriously. So I went to college for music, and then I went to graduate school for music because my plan was I wanted to be a professor of music. That was what,
Okay.
Because I compose. I really write a lot of music.
Okay.
And I sort of fell apart there. I had severe burnout. I got the master's degree. I didn't
anything this is like that movie. What's that fucking movie where J.K. Simmons beats up the students all the time with instruments?
Oh,
Whiplash.
Yeah.
It's those everybody's are real music schools like that. I've met people that have gone to schools like that, and I've heard burnout is on
I didn't have that experience.
Yeah.
It was all self-induced burnout.
Okay, because you were just I'm gonna be the best I can possibly be.
I just kind of lost my mind somewhere in the process, and then I sort of dropped out because I was in a PhD program. So I left after my
a doctorate in what,
in
music?
Yeah. So because you need that. If you want to be a professor, you have to have it.
So did you graduate?
I got a master's degree.
You didn't get the PhD?
No.
So you dropped out while you were getting your PhD?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
just making sure I'm on the same track.
Right. So I kept writing.
Okay.
Even though then I got a couple of crappy jobs, and had to get my shit together. So, but I kept writing, and I still write. I still write, a lot, regular straight sort of modern classical music, which is obviously not funny, but
great. I'm glad I have you on this fucking podcast. Right?
So that whether that's relevant to this at all, I don't know, but it's it's creative, and I've had stuff done all over the place, and I still do.
That's interesting.
I like a stream.
I'm fascinated by music in general because it's just it's just cool to me. I just think I think people that have mastered musical instruments are really, it's awesome, and I wish I could do it. I wish I had the know-it-all to sit down and do that. I played the drums in fucking high school because it was the easiest instrument. They're you have to take one thing, and I'm what can I what can I basically do and just not even concentrate on it? And it was the drums. So that was I played a snare drum in the fucking Memorial Day parade.
It's crazy though when you meet the people who are academic percussionists because they're machines. They can do things that you don't think are humanly possible.
Like what?
In terms of rhythms and combinations of, they're very creative in terms of how to set things up and how to make things happen. That if you say, well, I want to have these 10 percussion instruments, how would I arrange it? How would I make this happen? I want you to play 20 beats in the space of 7 beats in this one spot, and they're just oh, you mean this? And yeah. So it's bizarre. They're bizarre. The people who are performance majors are weirdos in a completely different alien way.
Because they aesthetically speak another language.
Yeah, than the track that I was. I was a composer, so I was on the
So you were basically, music
history.
I was going to say, music theory, yeah.
Right. So that's where my whole thing is.
This is, see, you look at him and you're this plumber of a man knows about composing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his superpower. He's always disguised. That's it. Then he whips out music theory shit on your ass. So you did all that shit, and now you do comedy. But and like I said, we're going to get more into your song stuff later because you're going to play something for us.
Right.
But, so doing your comedy, you, I don't know how to describe what you do, but I like it. I say I genuinely like it because you take people on weird storytelling journeys. I just wanted to ask you where the fuck any of that shit comes from, because everybody writes a little bit different, and your shit is like a list, you read it like a story.
Yeah.
And where, like, what, like, you don't do, like, traditional bits and everything like that.
Well, I mean, I have some like that are short jokes,
Yeah.
where it's like a setup punchline. But a lot of the times I come up with like an idea. Most of the I drive a lot for work, between the social work stuff and doing the mold inspections and whatever. I'm always in the stupid car, and I have my phone, and I'll think of something dumb because I'm listening to podcasts, listening to music, just trying to keep my mind occupied. You come up with, you just think about something that you're like, this is ridiculous. Why, what is so, and a lot of times, like, as you know, a lot of my jokes are about like tragic things.
Yeah. Actually, I would say all of your jokes are about tragic things.
So, it's like tapping into my own depression issues,
some shit
basically.
About dolphins at one point.
Yeah, the dolphin one's good. It's fun.
And but it's interesting because that dolphin one's good. It's fun.
It's fun. Yeah.
But you're like one of those guys where it's just no one. I love when comedian walks up there and you're like, what's this guy gonna? You know what I mean? Like you go up there and you pull up this little pamphlet and you're just like, what is this? Like, what's happened? Like, you can't help but people. At least at the beginning, they're like, we're in. You know what I mean? Like, even if they don't care for your content or some shit like that, you got them at the beginning with just being like, all right, let me get this off my chest.
Yeah, and I write down, I have all of it on the computer. I write it all down word for word at one point. So that, like, literally like a script, because I'm used to, it's my music thing where I'm used to, like, exact notation. I say, okay, I'm going to work on it like it's a perfect script. This is why I'm going to take words and change them around and see if I can play with it and make it work in a different way by altering the order or the tone or whatever.
Are you applying your music theory kind of brain
that
to
part of my brain, yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's neat. That's a neat, like, tool that you learn doing something else and just find a way to use it.
Right, because it's all creativity. So you say, okay, I'm used to sequence of drama, right? So that's what a joke or a song or anything is. You're trying to set people up, set up expectations, and then sometimes meet that expectation, or in a lot of times try to subvert that expectation. So you're the one creating the expectation and somehow subverting it. And, being subversive is, who doesn't like that?
This is Greg Pfeiffer's masterclass.
Yeah.
$99.99 if you get 20% off if you sign up. Use code Millennial Stoner to get the Greg Pfeiffer.
Exactly.
But that's neat, man. That's neat that you find a way to transition to that, because I definitely enjoy watching you and shit like that. And you're a great guy.
Thanks.
And my next question is, what's your favorite Rocky soundtrack?
Yeah,
before we were talking, like, I wanted them to get to know you a little bit, but I didn't want the whole episode to be that. But you came in and you're like, I like to talk about Rocky IV, the soundtrack. Like, you came in with ideas, and I love it. Yeah. And why did you want to talk about Rocky?
I don't know. Because I had, obviously big fan of Rocky IV. Watching
it's
my
the best
whole life.
worst sequel.
Right. Been watching my whole life.
I could dissect that movie for hours. It's ridiculous.
So I have a subscription to like Amazon Music or whatever it is, because when we were kids, like I was telling you earlier, we had the Rocky IV soundtrack record for reasons I don't even know. It just was at my house. So we would listen to it.
It's a stellar soundtrack.
It's
got some good ones on there.
It's very cheesy, and
but the movie it's the 80s.
Yes.
It's just the perfect encapsulation of what the fuck was going on at the time. Well, that's why that movie's like kind of genius, but also really dumb.
Right. Well, and it's the movie where he took the idea of doing, like, how much of the movie is montage.
It's all montage.
To the max.
The entire movie is one. What is it, a 90-minute film? I think the theatrical version, like, it's all, like, I remember watching that movie and it's like every 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, there's maybe it's like the Silence of the Lambs thing when you put all the fucking Anthony Hopkins scenes together. It's only 20 minutes. When you put all scenes of actual dialogue, it's only like a half an hour movie.
Yeah.
Everything else is just him running in the woods to, like, Hearts on Fire.
Right.
And then driving a Ferrari.
Driving the car after, Apollo dies. And of course, she's like, "You can't be a boxer, You're
gonna lose."
She's the worst wife
in that movie. No, she goes from being the best, most supportive girlfriend, and then Stallone went down the right for it. It's like, I think I'm gonna make Adrian a little bit of a cut in this one.
After a bit, she was always like, "You shouldn't do this anymore," And he was like, "What are What do you think I am? Like, he doesn't do anything else.
Yeah, no. So what do you think pays for this robot?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
what do you think pays for this robot? Which again, I'm just like, you look at that movie, it's from the soundtrack to like the villain to like the fact that Rocky stops communism by the end of it.
Yeah.
And listen, that I will say one of the best final fights in the history of film has always been that ending Rocky. Like genuinely, I think that like last boxing match with the montage of them fighting with that music is fucking dope. But the fucking Ivan Drago, that where they got like special effects and it looks like you're tuning into ESPN.
Yeah.
Like no, the one there's just a shot of them getting punched by like they shot extra stuff just for that fight of them getting punched in like real time. Like it's so funny. And the stories you hear about that fucking set where Stallone was like, yeah, I told him to hit me as hard as he could. Dolph Lundgren in his prime.
Right.
And I broke 3 ribs. I'm like, yeah, that's what happens when you ask Dolph Lundgren in his prime to punch you as hard. Stallone's weird.
Yeah. The thing I love
go ahead.
No, the thing I love about Drago the most is at the end.
This will be the whole episode. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, when at the end.
It should have been our 4th of July episode.
When he's just like, I do this for me. He totally throws the whole Soviet Union under the bus. He's like, I don't give a crap about any of you. This is all about me. Yeah. And they're all like booing him. Yeah. And I'm like, this is when he turned into the hero for me. Because it's like, when you just thought he was part of the evil empire, like a part of the cog in the machine.
But then he breaks away from communism.
Exactly. He's like,
well, again, this is why this movie's fucking weird. Because then they go on, so Rocky 4 comes out, and I think it was a giant success when it came out.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was, especially, that was like striking while the iron was hot. Like, everybody was so pro-America.
I was a kid, so I saw it.
You saw it in the theaters, and you were like, Rocky stopped fucking communism. Like, this is, I don't care. Like, that should be taught in history books. Like, so, but then years later, they start doing the Creed movies. Yeah. Which the first one is great. I think the first one's fucking fantastic. I think it fit right into all it tapped into what made that first movie great. It really did a good job. It humanized the characters, even though, especially because Stallone's character's been through a lot of weird plot. Like, remember when he was like kind of autistic in one movie and then he was like, I'm fine. Like, this is whatever. Like,
See, after Rocky 4, I was sort of out. I was like,
not a lot of people like out.
After that, I was like, I'm done.
And 5 is kind of dumb, although it might have one of the best mix scenes ever.
And then they made Rocky, whatever it was.
Rocky Balboa, which was actually pretty decent. It was like a by the numbers. It reminded you why you liked Rocky so much. It wasn't necessarily a genius film, but like it was definitely like it felt like a Rocky movie. And it was at the time, like especially at the time, it was really cool to see Stallone kind of like, and they had a great. They found the balance between montage and story, like because people will watch a story about a guy who's like, I think I got one more in me, and you know what that is a movie. That's a movie of speeches. He gives 1,800 speeches in that movie. My God. He fucking he yells at his son. He's like, let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't no sunshine and rainbows. And he's in front of the boxing commission. He's like, don't any of you ever have a dream in your life? Like he just fucking monologues his way through this film. And then finally, he's like, I'm going to fight Mason the Lion Dixon. And then they have this really cool moment. They got gritty. They shot it gritty. It looked gritty again. It looked like washed out. Is it a brilliant film? No. Is it fun to watch? Yeah. It's not 5.
No.
And then they made the Creed movies, and Creed 2 came out, though. And Creed 2 is like a pseudo-independent sequel to Rocky 4.
See, I didn't see it.
So it is basic. It is. It's like a direct sequel to the 4th film. Because it's Drago's kid that Adonis Creed is fighting.
Nice. So,
and then you bring that whole... And they got fucking... What's her name to be in it? Who's that big bitch?
She was married to Stallone.
Yeah, but what was her name? She dated Flavor Flav. Bridget Nielsen. Bridget Nielsen is in it. And she comes back, and I'm like, as a fan of the series, I'm watching this like, get the fuck out of here. They got her to be in it too. Yeah. And so they brought it all back. So they kind of like brought that because it's that thing where after Drago lost, like he was abandoned by his country. He's training his son, and he's a very tough trainer, and he gets the chance to fight Rocky's protege. So it's like this whole thing. Like at one point, they were like, "We're gonna do a whole movie."
I'm gonna have to see this now,
dude. It's a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. There's a point in the movie where it's like they just start hammering on things for fucking Michael B. Jordan to overcome. like just to just to it's like this happened, and now your baby's deaf. Like that's and I'm like, must we do this?
Right.
Like he's already got to fight a Russian maniac covered in tattoos. Like, isn't that enough? But like it really was like a strange thing to me that I'm like, this is almost a solo film in and of the fact that this is like a sequel of a sequel to another sequel.
Right.
And it's a very weird film.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, you should check it out, man.
Because it's really not a sequel, it's a Drago sequel.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
it's like, because you were pointing out, it's like, this is why Drago's my favorite. I'm like, you need to watch Creed 2.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Because they take that character on a wild journey and like, it's cool. I don't know. It worked. It gets a little lengthy.
Yeah.
First one's great. But yeah, none of them reach the peaks of genius soundtrack the way that the Rocky IV soundtrack ever will.
Yeah. Well, in a movie that's all montage.
It's all montage.
Soundtracks matter.
Yeah.
Like, that's all you got. There's no dialogue.
I miss movies like that to an extent. I really do.
Yeah.
Because like, you watch that movie and you're like, how did this get made? But you long for something like that because it's so much fun to watch the idiocy of it.
I'm trying to think if there's anything even remotely like that.
Nothing. I mean, it's all music and cutaways and close-ups of Stallone's eyes looking really intense in the mirror of a car.
Right.
Like it's all those shots. The biggest dialogue is at the end is when he holds up the American flag and stops communism in fucking Russia. And everybody was like, I totally buy into that.
Right. This is how.
Yeah.
This is
I don't
how
know if there's anything that.
done.
I don't know if there's, because it's meant because it's got like such stakes in it too. Because it's like Apollo Creed is dead, and then I've got to avenge my friend, and I'm going to go to the heart of Russia,
right,
to kill this man, to destroy this man who destroyed my friend. And it's so like the plot wise, it's interesting enough, but there's barely any dialogue.
No.
Barely any dialogue. I don't think anything is made like that anymore.
No,
I'm trying to think of a movie that's basically just like even the Marvel films. You know, there's not like I don't even know if montages exist like that anymore. I don't think montages. I can't remember the last time I saw a good montage in a movie.
Yeah,
the superhero thing now is to do the suit up thing. That's what they do. The whole thing where they get the suit and they're like, there's no like
right, and they do that, but that's like what 45 seconds or a minute and a half or 2 minutes.
Yeah,
set up kind of but not like a full length song every 10 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, like every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes, Heart's on Fire. What's next? In the Burning Heart. Like,
yes, exactly.
And there's the thing about songs from that era too. There's something about it where like, there's bands don't exist like that anymore. Where it's like, I don't know how to describe white guy operatic singing.
Yeah,
where it was just like they are in the Burning Heart. They are going for it in that song.
And if you read the lyrics are just like. They're ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like you could never say them if you just read them without singing them. You'd never say them with a straight face.
Yeah, but that was like most music from the 80s. I always tell people, I'm like, these songs are so catchy to listen to, but have you ever actually, like, you're a music theory.
Yeah.
As a composer, have you ever like read this stuff and been like, well, this doesn't make any sense?
Well, pop music, is a lot of the songs don't have to make sense.
They just have to be catchy.
You're right. They just have to be evocative. Like if they say a cool phrase and it has a cool ring to it, for whatever reason, that's what works. It doesn't need to make some kind of linear sense. Because it's not necessarily a story. It's just.
Do you think the best songs are the ones that are stories? Like, what is like? Honestly, you're a music person, and fine. I'm enjoying this conversation. As someone who studied music, what is your like? Oh, do you consider their song to be like the greatest song in your mind? Like that's a great song.
No. Like, well, it depends on what
genre, whatever.
Right.
Like, and it doesn't have to be your top, whatever. But like, what's one where you're like, that's an example of like a great storytelling in a song.
Well, for me, because I grew up on it, like The End by The Doors.
Yeah.
And of course, it goes totally off the rails. Like, where he starts inserting
jungle noises and stuff.
Just way random stuff that he says in there. But, him and his whole, like, drug-addled poetry, whatever nonsense.
It's one of my favorite videos ever.
It's a great song.
But he goes, but no, like, just a video of him being like, you guys want to see it? But he just has that meltdown.
Oh, yeah.
It's like Morrison, I'm just like, yeah, this is great. Like, but yeah, well, The Doors. What is your opinion on the Doors? Do you find them to be real storytelling, or do you think they were just bullshit jam band music?
I like the Doors.
Yeah.
I know, and I thought they were unique.
My dad's a big fan of the
You
Doors.
know, like not every song, but they had a lot of songs or body of songs that are really good. They had a unique sound. No one was doing what they were doing. They had that weird psychedelic circus weirdo sound because of the organ playing and stuff. And sometimes it was better than other times, but they had like real musicianship in the band.
Yeah.
Like these guys were obviously jazz trained. Like they
A
came
lot of people from that
era. Yeah. Because
That's why
jazz
the 70s is so insane with a lot of these people were like classically trained performers, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
jazz in the 40s and 50s was when jazz was the best. Like, the best jazz that ever existed was like Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Bill Evans, like all these guys all doing drugs or whatever crazy shit they were doing, but they were unbelievable. And they brought it into this whole new realm of being like serious music. And then they went like totally avant-garde and off the edge like in the 70s.
But that's like that art house,
Right.
some queef with a beret and bongos.
Yeah, it started getting just weird.
This
and-
is jazz.
Right.
Like,
You know, they sort of followed like classical music over the edge and where we all were like, you know.
I'm trying to figure out when the whole pop, was that the 80s where the pop music really started to come? Because
Yeah.
there were always like one-hit wonders and like hits in the 70s, but like you look at people, I feel like if you make one good pop album where if you can make most of the song, if you have 10 tracks on that and you can do one good pop album where it's like every song is a banger.
Yeah.
Then that's it. You don't really need to do anything else, right?
Well, and
That's not like an unheard of thing. There's plenty. Justin Timberlake did that. That's why everybody's like, why hasn't he made a new album? Like, he doesn't have to. He made Love, Sexy, whatever the fuck.
Right.
Or whatever the hell his last album was, where he was like, I'm bringing Sexy back. And then he didn't have to fucking ever do it again.
Yeah.
And he got arrested in Sag Harbor for a TWI
well,
in the town that I live in.
Yeah.
And I was like, I bet he was drinking with Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, he could do whatever. Well,
But that's what I mean. But I'm like, yeah, of course he gets a DWI. He made one album and he gets to drive any Porsche he wants now.
right. And he doesn't have to work. He doesn't have to
No,
do
that's
anything.
it. He hasn't had to make new music.
No.
I feel like people that make new music, they love that aspect. They love the process of making music and writing it. That's why, they didn't get into it just to make, I'm not saying Justin Timberlake doesn't enjoy performing in music.
Right.
Obviously, he still performs live, but he hasn't made any new music. Not really.
No,
I
he's
don't
not
think
like
he has.
Prince, who apparently made hours and hours of
You
music
want to talk about Prince?
constantly
Fine.
all the
It's going
time.
to be a 2-hour episode right now.
But he was
No, you're right.
that was what he was known for doing. It didn't matter the money. He was like,
He
I'm
likes
just going to
making
keep
music, yeah.
going to the studio, making songs, and he didn't like to overproduce.
Every
and
room in
just,
his house,
Yeah.
of Prince's house, I think was wired to record.
Yeah.
I think that was the whole thing about if he just wants to fucking be hanging around in his fucking, living room in his underwear and all of a sudden he starts to write Raspberry Beret.
Right.
It's just going to be recorded right there.
Right. And a lot of the lyrics to his
But
songs.
he's another dude that was
Cool.
like, he played 23 different instruments.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like, and he was so, fuck, I miss Prince. I miss Prince so much. I just want to say, I remember when he died, I'm like, God damn it. I miss that dude just from a musical standpoint because he just truly didn't give a fuck. Because he didn't care any of this stuff about the music industry and all that shit. He did his whole thing with the whole artist formerly known, and he just reached a point where he was just like, whatever, I'm just a born-again Christian playing rock and roll.
He was always out there, too. I remember
Yeah, he was.
watching
But he was like a real rock star.
Oh, yeah. There's a clip of him on, American Bandstand, high out of his mind.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Dick Clark is looking at him like, what are you saying?
He was I loved it.
Yeah.
And he just fucking, I think he had beef with Michael Jackson, which is really funny to hear those two arguing in one room. Just two, I don't like you. I like you.
Two very dainty dudes.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's like the featherweight.
Yeah, I'm like, what is happening right now? But Prince was, Love, Sexy, Purple Rain is a fucking banger album. Sign of the Times. And then even the stuff that's didn't do, the self-titled, I think that album's great. The fucking Symbol album.
Yeah.
I think the artist formerly known as Prince album is great. There's a lot of great ones on there. That was his first, because he toured with, what's his name? Rick James.
Okay.
He was with the whole Rick James crew, I think. Early on, that early funkadelic era, George Clinton era and everything. He definitely, I think he toured with him, and then he broke out or whatever. Like he played with like Bootsy Collins and shit. Like he was like around those guys at the very least. And then he broke out with I think it's Love Sexy is his first album or whatever like that. And it's got that one with Delirious on it. I think that has Delirious on it.
Okay.
And that like I think that first album he literally played it like I think he put the band together later. And he just recorded that album, like just recorded everything on his own first.
Yeah.
And then put the band, like put the Prince and the Revolution together after that.
Maybe close.
But he's always been, like, if you watch any interview with him, he's kind of a fucking, he's kind of like a fucking, not dick, but he's a little like, he fucks with people. He just fucks with people.
Clearly doesn't give a shit about how he comes off or what it's about.
I mean, that's like technically like it's like you can, but that's the same thing for like a Lemmy Kilmister. That's like a real rock star attitude. That's what I think of when I think I'm like, oh, that's a rock star. Is a dude who genuinely doesn't give a shit. I'm going to play the kind of music I want to play.
Right.
I care not what you think of me. And that's usually like guys like Prince and like Lemmy Kilmister and, for a while, Ozzy Osbourne, guys like that.
I'm thinking of the Purple Rain video.
No, they're all
exactly like Rocky IV. It's like that.
The Purple Rain movie?
No, with the montage.
That movie. That's one big music video.
That's what I mean. But music videos were montages.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that's what Rocky IV is the closest thing artistically
it's just a bunch of music videos?
It's a music video that is set to story instead of
Set to music video that's set to story.
Yeah.
That's to me is the greatest storytelling song of all time.
It's like, well, build something around.
Well, yeah, I mean, but like I said, guys like Prince, they come along once in a lifetime. That's why, like, there's no real bands anymore. There's no bands. Not really. There's no arena, like, anything that can fill.
No.
Yeah. And I would like to say I'm a big fan of hip-hop and everything like that. So I'm not like, it's all rap now. I'm like, it's not even rap anymore. I think it's pure pop music. I think it's pure pop music is the stuff that's filling arenas right now.
Yeah. The fact that, you don't see any bands like, you try to think of even like Nirvana, like all that generation, they're all gone. Like, Pearl Jam's still around. They're touring.
Pearl Jam's still around, yeah.
And
there's a lot of Pearl Jam fans are very diehards.
Yes.
Like they have a very...
I'm not one of them. I mean, I like a few of their songs, but I'm not like,
I've never been a huge Pearl Jam guy.
Yeah.
But like, I never have been like, fuck Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
I just don't...
No, they have some good songs.
I never got into it. But I've kind of been the same way about Nirvana. Yeah. Like, I don't hate Nirvana, but I never got deep into Nirvana. Like, I know Nirvana songs, and I've listened to, but I just never was like, this changes my life in every way.
Right.
I listen to that when I listen to Weird Al.
Yeah. No, there's a certain, like, the only albums or stuff like that really blew my mind or stuff that you listen to when you're young. I was listening to Led Zeppelin, and I was like, this changed my complete outlook on Black Sabbath or any of these bands.
You also had to seek shit out when you were a kid. Even I did too. You had to go buy an album.
Yeah.
You had to, like, if you saw something on MTV or VH1, even if it was older, VH1 probably should. That's how I got into the Ramones. They played a Ramones video on VH1, and I was like, this is the coolest fucking band I've ever seen in my life. Huh. And I immediately rode my bike to the record store, and I bought fucking the Rocket to Russia, I think. And, like, that was it. I was like, that's my fucking favorite band. Like, I love the fucking Ramones more. Like, if I could bring them all back to life right now and have a concert just for me, I would. But that's what you had to do. I had to ride my bike to the fucking store and everything. And I'm not trying to be like, in my day, it's just it would have been so much easier to have it on my phone at the time.
Oh, it would have been awesome.
I had to ride fucking an hour to a fucking record store on a bike, a mongoose bike.
Yeah. And
it sucked. It was hot out.
I remember going to Tape World. I went to Tape World and they had singles on tape.
Yeah, they still had. They had those on CD. You could still get the singles on CD. Right. I got a bunch of shit that way because it would be like $5 for like one song.
Right.
And then after that, they released a whole album. It's like, wait a minute, I just bought this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would get CDs, and that's how I got into this. That's how you did it. It would have been so much easier for me to just look it up on Spotify. I don't ever have had to leave my house. But I had to. And that was how, if you really that's why when you found a musical artist back then, because you went through so much trouble to get it, you're like, this is my guy. Like, I will drive for this person or this band or this woman, I
think that the problem with that is that people or the newer generation don't cherish the song the same way.
I think it depends on the fandom, but I also agree with you.
Yeah, because there's something about I had to get a physical copy I had to go through all this crap to get it. I have to keep it from getting messed up.
Yeah.
And
that's why I think it's hard to criticize songs. I'm like, how difficult was it for you to listen to the song that you didn't like?
Yeah.
You know, what? You just press the A button on your phone?
Right.
Like, you know, it's probably not as bad as you say it is, you know?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's crap. I don't fucking know. But, but I think when you had to go, you're right, when you had to go get a physical copy, you were like, you know, you were more inclined to be like, listen, I went through so much trouble to get this.
So, and then I would listen to it over and over again because I didn't just have a limitless amount of music on hand. I would listen to it, and the same thing I did with movies. We had so many VHS tapes. I would watch.
You end up watching
the same ones over and over. I watched Alien. I watched Predator. I watched Young Frankenstein, and like a handful of movies.
And then
that
eventually,
we just had.
and then so once every couple months, you'd be like, "We're going to the movies," and you'd see something new or something would play on TV.
Yeah,
but like you're right. I had a handful of VHS tapes as well.
Yeah,
like it was because my sister had a bunch of. So it was my sister had all the Disney films, and I had like Godzilla movies, which I had to hunt down.
Right.
From like they would have them at Caldor sometimes.
Yeah, and they
Caldor,
they used to make them super expensive.
Yeah, they were like $30.
Yeah, and it was like you couldn't.
And then when DVDs came along, you could get them for $5.
Yeah, DVDs. Yeah, once DVDs came along, you could get all the VHS tapes. They were just like, here's garbage.
Yeah,
and
but I bought so many of them because it was at the time. Like, at least with me, like I never fully transitioned over to something right away. I always I'm like, well, it's cheaper to get this, and it's still, you know, you know, I'm going to watch all these movies, and eventually, when I can't get these anymore, I'll start buying DVDs, which is exactly what I did.
Right.
I didn't get a DVD player for years because I was like, well, I have them all on VHS.
Right.
And then eventually, they just started only releasing film. It's the same thing now. Like, you can't. They don't really like. It's the same thing with physical albums.
Yeah.
Like vinyls are like back in style now, but from a collector's standpoint.
Right.
You know, like...
Right, because that's the only people who, like, want that physicality. They're like, I want an object. And albums look awesome because they're huge. You can make the cover art. Yeah. Like, tapes suck that way. We were just like, oh.
There's, like, a cool thing to tape. There's also people that still put out, like, but that's what I mean. They're putting out, like, oh, it's a tape. It's old. Right. It's this old, outdated thing. Here, $50. Like, But it's it's new music on an old format, which is exactly all it is, and it's such a genius marketing thing. And I'm pissed off that I didn't think of it first. Yeah, because that's why. And but album collecting has been ever since for years. That's been a thing. That's not like a new thing.
No,
I think people are just a lot more hipstery and fucking queefy about it now. Yeah, you know, like I have a 2-band. That's great. Like,
yeah, I have a ton of records because and people, almost all of them were gimmies. I didn't buy them.
Yeah, they were given to you.
Years ago, somebody was like, oh, we went to a house to do a cleanup job, these guys I was working with, and they're like, yeah, the lady wants to get rid of all these records. They're all classical records, and no one wants classical records except for me.
What is this?
So,
video cassette report. What is this?
How much VHS tape work?
$89.99. Bruce Willis.
Bull Durham. Kevin Costner. Bull Durham is $89.99. Wait, I do remember seeing that because that's ridiculous.
I think that the $89.98 is the last Boy Scout. Is that what they're describing?
No, that's Die Hard.
Oh, it's Die Hard. Okay.
$89.95.
That's what I'm talking about.
The Bruce Springsteen video analogy is $24.98.
The Presidio stunk. $89.95.
What's the Presidio?
It's
a murder. Oh, I know this movie.
Sean Connery movie.
Yeah, it's right.
It's in San Francisco, and I don't give a crap. It was like not, I don't know.
$89.95. Movies are more expensive than the concert films. What else you got there? The Nest.
Right. And it's $89.98 or $95.
Michael Jordan, Come Fly With Me. How much is that?
Right, and that's back when?
Doesn't say. Oh, wait, call it $1998 for a video of the greatest basketball player of all time.
Right.
And then a shitty movie with Sean Connery is $89.95.
Right, and that's in 1988 money.
How much is Roger Waters' Radio KOS? $15.98.
There you go.
Uncle Meat. Oh, it's Frank Zappa. $59.95 for Frank Zappa. And it's... Oh my God, that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy to me. Yeah, and now it's kind of back to that for some of this shit.
Yeah, but even so.
Because I that's the one thing, I don't know if you're like a collector at all, but like I have like a few things, like I am like a bit of a collector, and I do like collect like retro, like Blu-ray, special edition Blu-rays, and like if they release like a special VHS or something, I'm so stupid, I'm like, I want it. Like there'll be horror movies, like new horror movies that come out and they'll release it on like an old school VHS, and I buy it. I don't care.
Do you have a VCR that works?
I do. Yeah, I love that shit. It's like, I think it's just cool.
Yeah.
I'm not like one of those people I'm like living in my past because it's all like new stuff on it. I just think it's cool that it's dumb. It's dumb because it's a new thing on an old piece of junk that's outdated.
Yeah.
That you have to go buy something that used to be fucking $20. It's now $100 because they don't make VCR recorders this way anymore. Yeah. And you got to get the one that's the car because that's the one they had at the VHS store when you were a kid growing up.
The one thing I liked about VHS though was in my early 20s, I figured out that if you record on EP, you could record for 6 hours. I would hook it up to the radio and record Howard Stern on the videotape. And I was just recording audio, but I could literally set it and it record 6 hours of radio.
I used to record Stern with a handheld tape recorder. Like there's still like old episodes. I have to look at my basement, but I definitely still have old like K-Rock, like, because when I found out about Stern, I'm like, this is insane. And I was like, but I had to go to like, because we didn't get K-Rock all the way out. So, but if we went to like Riverhead, my mom would go shopping. Okay. And I would like sit in the car and I'd be like, I'm going to listen to Howard. I didn't care. Right. I was like, I'm just going to listen to, I did the same thing with Opie and Anthony. Yeah. Later on, Opie and Anthony, just because I was like, like the late 90s, early 2000s when like we had like Burr and Lucy Kay and like Patrice O'Neill. I have those too, but I would just sit next to it and record. But every once in a while, you just hear like my mom like getting in the car, putting groceries in the car. Right. You were talking about, you have done songs in your company now.
Yeah, I decided to take my, take a shot at writing songs for comedy. And
you did one that you had at the mic a few months ago, and you've since
because I did originally I did like a cover. I did A Very Good Year.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, that was fun, and then I was like, oh, I'll write a comedy song. Because what the hell? Just write a comedy song. And this one worked out. And like I said, I won't play the next one because it turned out
to be just a sad song.
It turned sad. Like the more I went, because my jokes being the way they are, usually tragic in some kind of way.
And deeply disturbed.
Right. That one just turned.
Makes you so much fun.
Went, it went from disturbing funny to just disturbing and sad.
So, well, on that note, I told you one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here is because I think your song's funny, and I want to do this is our NPR Tiny Desk right now. So the episode has come to a close, and before we do, I just want to say thanks to Greg for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah, man! This was a lot of fun. We went. What I love about this episode is we talked a little about you. You broke down classical jazz. We talked about Rocky IV and sex dolls and coming on people. Yeah. This is literally that's my podcast. Yeah,
we covered some ground.
This is not just horrible shit. There's actually a lot of stuff on here. Right. So I thank you for running the gambit, and you're going to do our tiny desk our tiny apartment concert right now.
You can hear the studio version on Spotify.
Okay,
this is going to be the live tiny desk version.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I give to you, and don't forget to introduce the song. Yeah. I give you the musical stylings of one Greg Pfeiffer.
Don't wanna die, crushed in a submarine. Don't wanna die, falling in a long plane crash. It's gotta be sudden, a mid-air collision, depressurization, and I suddenly black out during in-flight beverages. You'll hear about these people seeing life flash in front of their eyes, or slowly dying, thinking about regrets. Fuck all that, it better be 2 seconds max. Like a meteor strike, traveling down so fast. 8 miles a second, and my body's roadkill, like hookers in landfills. gonna die getting eaten by a shark, bit by bit, or a polar bear. Out a piece of shit, polar bear shit. No, it's gotta be quick, not like Timothy Treadwell. 20 minutes of living hell. Fucking grizzly bears. Grizzly Man documentary. I know who's waiting in the afterlife. Jesus, Hitler, and Grandma. Steve Irwin, Meatloaf, Paul Rubens. 40 million homeless homosexual veterans. And soon enough, Charlie Sheen. Maybe I can go like Prince or David Carradine in Thailand. An autoerotic asphyxiator. I'm a kung fu masturbator. The maid's gonna find me dressed as a Girl Scout, dead with my cock out. Dying is the best part of living. Dying could be the best part of living. Dying might not be the best part of living, but leave a good tip. It's better when you're found by the maid. Found by the maid. It's better for everyone when you're found dead by the maid.
Greg, that was fucking perfect.
All right, that was awesome. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in again. Big thank you to my guest, Greg Pfeiffer. Just to reiterate the stuff that we said at the beginning, if you want to support the page, go to rockgut.shop and buy some merch. We got hats, we got shirts. They're all Chris's designs. We're going to have some cool ones coming up soon, so keep an eye out and everything. And if you also want to support the page and not spend money, just like, share, subscribe, the big three. Share the videos. We love it. Once again, all my shows from the end of July to the end of August, I'm going to be in Southampton at Sticks and Stones Comedy Club with, Sherrod Small is going to be down there. Rob White's going to come down. Steve Rocco Perillo, Carmen Lynch is coming down. The Sklar Brothers, which I'm super excited for, are going to be there. I get to host for them. That's going to be great. It's a lot of great people. Go to sticksandstonescomedyclub.com to get tickets and come down and have a good time. So, all right, guys, that's been the show. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Greg Pfeiffer. That song is fucking insane. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.